Hey Gilbert.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey man, sorry to bother you so late. I'm just trying to use the time that I have free to try to get some work in. How's the campaign going so far?
It's going good. I mean, just getting everything prepared. You know, it's too early right now to be starting anything, so I don't see myself doing anything till late August. But right now, it's just about preparing.
I've heard rumors that fucking Molina's trying to run again.
No, Molina's running. I mean, I don't know if you've been and seen the news lately, but he's announced officially.
Oh really? Okay, so that it is confirmed, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he put out a press release and came out in the paper and Channel 5. I mean, he's running.
Oh wow, no, I haven't even caught that, man. Shoot.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay. With
No, he's running.
the
Full steam ahead, according to him. According to him, the people want him. He's the people's mayor.
Okay. Man,
Yeah.
the audacity of that. That's insane.
He's an opportunist, man. I mean, that's what he is. He's a narcissist, an opportunist. I mean, you can't, you can't, you can't take this guy seriously. I mean, if you're a logical, common sense person, can't, you can't take him seriously. I mean,
Yes, sir.
And look, I'll tell you this, man. I'm running to give a choice. I truly believe I'm the best candidate. In my opinion, and I might be biased because it's me, but I think I'm the most qualified and the most experienced, and with my background, and I'm doing it. I'm doing it for one reason only, and that's to give back to my community. And it's not it's nothing more than that. And I think I've proven it the last 3 years that I've been there. And
Yes, sir. And
and to be honest with you, I'm doing this also just to give the people a choice, and I just don't want him there. I mean, I can tolerate anybody else but him because I know he's doing it for the wrong reasons.
yes, sir. And
So
that's really he's one of the catalysts that really brought me into journalism because I was just so upset that he. And it seems like a lot of people just totally forgot and just were like, "What business as usual? He's still our mayor. Let's keep." Oh, I felt like I was crazy.
We go, we'll place our right hand over our heart and remain standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're ready to rock and roll. Hello, everyone.
The investigation into Edinburgh's voter fraud case is not over.
The Texas Attorney General's election fraud unit and the Hidalgo County District Attorney's Office still investigating.
18 people are facing voter fraud charges, including Edinburgh's Mayor Richard Molina and his wife Dahlia.
The state contends Molina and his wife had numerous voters change their addresses to places they didn't live.
That's why I want the whole story to be told publicly. The facts are the fact. This is the truth. This is the information you aren't being told. And I won't get started till you guys are set. Whereas America, our great nation, was built on faith, we're seeing a push to separate society and institutions. Our heritage will keep us free. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain rights, that among these life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and whereas, as we witness, pro-life apostolates all over the world continue to unite and with faith of our founding fathers, hold accountable our legislators, and hereby thank them for upholding our constitutional rights, and whereas pro-life apostolates in the city of Edinburgh, consisting of various parishes and organizations, and whereas via this proclamation, we ask for the recognition of one day a year, and you definitely have that commitment from us. That reminds. Whereas via this proclamation, we respectfully request and petition the local governing body to consider maintaining the city of Edinburgh as a sanctuary city for the unborn. And I want you to know, as the mayor, and I'm only one vote, we vote as a team, but you do have my commitment that you will get this done. That is the proclamation. If you guys want to come up and get a picture, but I'm also going to give the floor to our council members because I know that they have something that they would like to say.
100% behind it. There's really not a lot that we can really say, but we've got to push forward toward Mayor, and if we could second it now, I'd be happy to do it, but we've got to go through the proper process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to commend you all on your group and your presence. I was not aware that there was a group that does this, much less here in the city of Edinburgh. But my hat's off to you all and your vigor in getting out and being proponents for this. I support you 100%.
Good evening, my name is Johnny Garcia. I just want to say that I personally hear these stories that you talk about every day as a funeral director, and I actually worked a few years back with the state when they were trying to remove this abortion, and I went up to the state capitol to defend these unborn children. So I know what it's about, but the key thing is that as spiritual leaders of our community, as the council and the mayor, our job is also to pray for those children and also for the families, that the Lord continues to give us the strength to battle for those kids that cannot speak for themselves. So God bless you all for doing what you're doing.
Okay, well, before I get into my couple questions, I wanted to ask you, I read today that Trump is going to be coming to Edinburgh.
Yes, sir.
Is he? Yeah. Yeah? Is there any way you can get me to that press conference?
I'm not sure how it's going to work. I'm not sure how it's going to work yet.
Yeah.
We just got the call today.
Yeah. It's because I'm at a disadvantage, Johnny. I'm an independent journalist, so I'm at a disadvantage. I'm an independent journalist, so I don't think I'll just be readily invited to that. So I'm wondering if you can help me out to get into that.
I'll see how they're going to do it because I imagine it's going to be very high security.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to be there.
I'm not sure how quick that the whole conversation is going to be because he's coming with Evan.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm not sure if it's going to be like a 5-10 minute deal or 30-minute deal or an hour deal. And I don't even know if they're going to really give us access or not completely.
Oh, even you as a member.
Correct.
Oh, wow. Yeah, today in the Monitor it said that Molina and Cortez were not invited.
We're not?
Yeah, that's what I read, that they weren't going to be invited or something along those lines.
I don't know, but like I said, I got called.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Yeah, I got called to be ready for anything, but...
Yeah, well, let me be your plus one. I said, let me be your plus one. All right, well, let me dig into it, Johnny. So like I said, man, I'm just trying to figure this out. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with that declaration, and
Okay. I'll
I'll be honest with you, Josh. There's nothing really about it as far as that's catchy. I just think that the news media took it out of content and has made something bigger because we're the first city to actually acknowledge it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
What happens is that this is a pro-life oblate group that actually go all around Texas. I mean, I don't know if they go outside Texas, but I know for sure here in Texas, because that's why they were in the Lubbock area and everything. That's why everything that they mentioned as far as Lubbock, that's the same group that was actually over there.
Okay.
But there's a few staggerers that got involved from our community, but most of them are not even from here.
Pro-life apostolates in the city of Edinburg, consisting of various parishes and organizations.
But the thing is, and this is the thing that the lady from the monitor, I talked to her today also, because she called me and said, look, I know that y'all have me recorded, and I know that it came out that y'all quoted what I said. I said, as a spiritual leader.
So I know what it's about, but the key thing is that as spiritual leaders of our community, as the council and the mayor, our job is also to pray for those children and also for the families, that the Lord continues to give us the strength to battle for those kids that cannot speak for themselves.
They don't have a voice. The thing is, I say spiritual leader because I'm an ordained minister.
Do you ever take into account your religion when you're making these decisions, or no?
Never.
Okay, and what about the other guys, man? Like, what?
I really can't answer for them, Josh, because I don't talk to them about items on our agenda.
Yeah.
So, and it's just an acknowledgement. So there's not an action that needs to be taken. So it's not like it needs to be go to discussion. Basically, we hear it, the mayor read the proclamation, and then we just kind of comment on it if we want to. Well, it's normal though because it's not an action item.
Yeah.
It's just a recognition. You know what I mean? It's a recognition, so it's nothing big deal about it.
I mean, look, I get it. There's people that'll have that position, but if we're gonna have that position, I think there's steps that we need to take to make sure that. So are we doing anything to like extend maternity leave so that, since we're not going to allow women to get abortions, is there will the city invest in letting women that do have these kids take some time off from work, or expanding their access to birth control? And I get it, we're majority Catholic, but I feel like a lot of this was just kind of pandering.
Correct. But here's the thing, we don't even have an abortion clinic in Edinburg. And then going back to the sanctuary, I was I told the mayor and David, White, the council member, and George, right before we started the executive session, I said, Mayor, just understand that if we go into a sanctuary city, there's different guidelines that one has to apply, but you also lose on some of the grants from other areas that might pay you out as a grant because you're not a sanctioned city. And look, the state recognizes that any fetal that is less than 20 weeks old is considered a fetal demise.
Yes, sir.
So my thing has always been, I'm more allowing the woman to make her own choice, kind of like pro-choice.
Okay.
And the thing about it is that you have to really take these cases case by case. And she now legally can abort this child.
Yes, Johnny. That's why it really bothered me. Honestly, it was disheartening, because a lot of these things weren't even considered.
I wish there would be more debates. I wish the media would really, start organizing debates. And I'm talking true debates, not these, these forums that, the questions are easy, there's no dialogue between the candidates, it's just answer question and that's it, there's no any kind of feedback. Yeah, but what I'm talking about is I want to have a dialogue between the candidates. If I want to ask him a question and if he wants to ask me a question, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's answer those tough questions. You know. And in the perfect world, that would work, right? But we're not living in the perfect world, and the reason I say that is because, you know, I'm not going to work with somebody that I know is doing the wrong thing. If you're going to do the right thing, then I'll work with you. I have no problem working with you. We can disagree, but we can work together, knowing that you're going to do the right thing. And this is the way I look at it. If the goal or the priority is the citizens of Edinburg, however we get to that goal or that priority, either my way or your way, I'm okay with it because the goal is still going to be met.
Yes, sir.
But if your goal is for you to benefit, to have some self-interest, or someone close to you to benefit, and that's the way you're going, well, then you bet your ass I'm not going to work with you. You bet your ass I'm going to fight you tooth and nail to expose what you're doing. So I'm not afraid to answer any questions. So I think that's what a leader needs to be. Someone that's gonna say what the truth is. You know, is not going to be afraid to go against the grain. You know, someone that's not going to tell you what you want to hear, because I can tell you this, I can talk to a group of people and know what they're about or what they want me to say. I can say it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pander to them. I'm gonna tell them what I think, and if that means losing their support or their voice or their vote or whatever, hey, that's okay. I'm okay with that. The three candidates so far, in my opinion, we all have a report card.
Yes, sir.
Molina's been a council member and a mayor. Okay.
Okay.
So he's made decisions. I've been a council member, so I've made decisions. Ramiro Gatsa, he was a city manager for the city of Edinburg for 10 years, so he's made decisions. So all of us have a report card, and it's up to us to show that report card to the voters, and then let them decide who actually was there for the right reasons, there to move the city forward in general, and not just a group of people.
All right, so tell me about yourself, just experience, family life, and your past positions in government.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to tell you and your audience a little bit about myself. My name is Ramiro Garza Jr., and I actually was born in Brownsville, Texas, but I've lived here in the Rio Grande Valley my entire life. I grew up very humble beginnings. My parents were very hardworking parents. My dad was a general laborer. My mother was a hotel housekeeper. I learned a lot from them. I have two siblings, a younger brother and younger sister. And they were all about hard work and doing the right thing all the time. So I grew up and learned a lot from them. I was fortunate to get educated myself beyond high school through their encouragement. My father passed away when I was 20, so being the oldest, I quickly had to obviously grow up and continue working, but at the same time going to school. So that taught me quite a bit from my upbringing, taking care of my mother, my siblings, and I was able to finish college and through their support and help while working at the same time. And I have a bachelor's in business administration degree, concentration in finance, and also have a master's degree in business administration as well. And I was very fortunate early on, right after I think it was my senior year in college, I was able to be part of an internship program at a bank. And so I learned a lot about small business and applying for loans and analyzing financial statements. So that was I think a really good foundation for me. But I quickly grew from there and worked at a program that it was, when Bill Clinton was president, it was called Federal Empowerment Zones, and the Valley was designated as one. And so I worked as a small business counselor, helping people that wanted to start their own business, and also existing businesses that wanted to grow their business. So given that background that I had, I was an individual that would help them, attain financing and help them grow. And that's how I actually got into city government, because I was always trying to help the businesses look for help to grow their business. And that's what led me to then get into city government. I came to Edinburg in the year 2000. I was hired to be executive director of the Edinburg Economic Development Corporation. I was probably one of the youngest ones. I was 26 years old.
Wow.
And but I like to work hard and immerse myself in the community. At the time, it was a challenging time for Edinburg. We had a Hager Clothing Company was closing in that first year that I was there, and IEC Electronics, which was another big company. Together it was about 2,000 jobs. So we quickly had to come together as a community, and I was right in the middle of that, of working with elected officials and community members to how do we change our strategy and help grow our economy. So I was very fortunate to be a part of the Economic Development Corporation. I was able to be part of that growth that took place early 2000s and help bring a lot of different opportunities to our community. And I was there for a period of about 9 years, to 2009. In terms of deciding to run, I just felt like, for me, I believe, the experience and the qualifications to really come in here and help the community and lead it into a new and prosperous direction. To me, it's all about planning for the future. We're a community now of 100,000 people and growing. And with that growth comes responsibilities. And I just feel that we need to do a lot more to help our community. We have so many assets here, right? The university, we're the county seat, of course the medical school, and just the people. I tell people the people of Edinburg are what makes Edinburg what it is.
I do think the power is in the people here. They're resilient, and even though we kind of have a black eye right now from just the previous administration's actions or inactions, I do think it's the people that make this city what it is.
Tell me about yourself, your experience, your family life, and any former positions that you've had.
Okay. Well, I have an accounting degree. So I'm involved in accounting for my firm, for my company. I also have been in the construction business for 25 years. I have we have a family-owned business. I've been operating and running that business since 2009. So it's a very important that we have. It's a family-oriented company. A lot of my employees have been with me for a very long time, for years. So I'm very proud of that. So it's important that I have a good relationship with my employees, and so it's, like I said, it's a family-oriented environment. A lot of these my employees have been with me for a very, very long time. And I'm appreciative of everything that they've done for me and the company. So I've also been a public servant before. I used to serve on the Edinburg School Board back in 2000, from 2000 to 2006. At that time, those were 3-year terms. I served 2 terms, and I decided I would not seek a third term. I've always said, 2 terms is enough for any elected official. And so I truly believe that, and so I definitely do do what I say. You know?
Yes, sir. Follow that principle.
Follow that principle. Exactly. Thank you. And so, at that time I was 26 when I was elected. So I was one of the youngest, or I am the youngest, I think to this day, school board member that has ever been elected. So I'm very proud of that. At 26, you're still young, you're still going through, your maturities and stuff. So it was a very, very good experience for me back then, and I learned a lot. So it was very, very good for me in my profession, in my growing as an individual, and so it just gave me a better sense of giving back to my community. So that was very important to me, and then so since then I've been working on my business. After 2006, and then 2017, I decided to run for city council, and I was lucky enough to be elected, and I served there for 3.5 years, and here we are today running a campaign for mayor.
If you had to choose one issue in Edinburg, the single most important issue that needs to be addressed right now, what would it be?
Well, it would have to be, in my opinion, taxes. I mean, I truly believe our tax rate is way too high. For a city our size and the city that is growing as fast as Edinburgh, I believe our tax rate is just too high. And I really believe that you can lower that tax rate, at the very least 10% that first year, because we just have tremendous growth. And I want to make it clear to everyone that even during the pandemic, Edinburgh saw a positive growth rate, even during the pandemic. And that's unheard of, right? Because everything closed down. And there wasn't as many people going to restaurants, going to retail stores and buying stuff, but Edinburgh still had a positive growth rate even during the pandemic. So that speaks volumes of the type of growth that Edinburgh has experienced over the last 20 years. And so I just truly believe that we got to relieve some of that tax burden off our citizens. I mean, they work hard. We all work hard for our money, and it's important to give some tax relief to our citizens. And so I think that's the main priority that we as a council should tackle in the next year. And before the election, we're gonna have to approve a tax rate. And I can guarantee you that there's going to be, the current mayor and the current council are going to come, and they're going to decrease the tax rate, and they're going to say, look at what we've done. We've decreased your tax rate right before election. Okay, but let's just put everything in perspective. If you go back to the videos since I was elected in 2017, every year I was advocating for lower taxes, and no one on that council that's current that came in with me ever voiced any advocacy for lowering taxes, and so I want the public to understand that people, when they're running for office, they say a lot of things and they do a lot of things just to get those votes. But with me, I can tell you that I've talked the talk, I've walked the walk. I don't just say things just so I can get someone's vote. I actually do what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah, you got the receipts. Yeah,
right.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Segueing into police, like you said, you believe that there should be more officers, and a lot of people are saying that officers should be given a raise, and I know they account for the biggest part of our budget, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it's like the optics of it, especially what just happened with our chief of police and the whole fiasco there? Do you think it's a smart move to be investing more into the police? And I mean, it just seems like no one's steering the ship right now.
Right. No, understood. And look, my position, I've worked with and know a lot of the officers in our police department. A lot of those officers, I mean, they're risking their lives, when they leave their home, because they don't know what they're going to face out there in the community. Public safety is such a key service that a community provides, right, I don't care what city it is. And I think here, in particular in Edinburgh, and there's a lot of politics nationwide and these, that, the other, but, I'm not at all about politicizing our city, to what's going on, whether it's across the state or our nation. This community, our officers risk their lives. They work hard. I know there's been some challenges in the department, as I may say, maybe other departments as well, around the country. But I say here locally, given, and I think that's where my experience comes in. Josh, when I was city manager, one of the things that I did is I negotiated with the union to make sure we had a fair compensation and a structure that the officers could work with. So I was always very fair and impartial with them in terms of, looking at things to where, okay, if we want to raise, where are we compared to our other cities, right, or other police officers? And I remember at one point, our officers, the pay was lower, right, than other areas. So we worked real hard over a period of years to bring them up to market, because we were losing some officers at the time. They were going to other law enforcement agencies. And so obviously it's been about since 2015 that I've left. I don't particularly know where they're at in the marketplace. I'm a person that looks at things with an open mind, but it's got to make sense too. It's got to be justified, right? And so I know that they have needs, and a lot of it, raises is one thing, equipment is the other. We got to make sure that they're equipped, right, to take care of our community. So it's, dollars, salary is one thing, but make no mistake, there's a whole lot of other needs that are in place in the force, from police units to other equipment, vests, things that are needed, right, for our growing police force. So again, going back to try to answer your question, I don't know if I answered it, so I apologize. I think that, we need to look to see what is needed in the department, just like all the other departments in the city. What do we need to help improve on our services, we provide to our residents.
Yes, sir. And I totally agree with you when you say that the equipment is a huge part of the equation, using the vests and vehicles and all these things. But where I want to offer some pushback is the misuse and the waste of that set equipment. And one of these examples is that video that I want you to play.
Hi, my name is Josh, sir, and I'm a real estate developer, and we're doing a subdivision right now, and I was wondering how I can get one of those police towers out here to watch kind of the development and stuff.
I can move it there for a little while. I'll see if I have one available. They're not really meant for that, but I can see if I can move it over there.
Will it cost me anything, or?
No, it doesn't cost you anything. Just so you'll understand how it works, we bought them under a grant through what's called Stone Garden Grant, and that has to do with the Border Patrol and Customs, and that's what we use them for. But let me see, because I know sometimes we send them to problem areas and stuff, and then we justify it with you having gang activity, drug problem, or illegal trafficking. But let me see how I can move them over there to your side. Where exactly is the neighborhood?
Just wanted to get ahead of the game and kind of find out how I can get one of those.
I can move it there for a little while. Maybe you can call me back once you start your construction and all that stuff. And maybe they see a tower that deters some criminal activity, some thefts and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'll put it back, and then I'll move it out. That's what we usually do.
Yeah, so I can just kind of justify by saying there's some illegal activity here and stuff, and you'll be able to put it out here.
Yeah. It depends on the legal activity, but yeah, I'll figure out something.
Alrighty, all right. What was your name again, sir?
Lieutenant Sepulveda.
Alrighty, you got it, Mr. Sepulveda. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So that's kind of my concern, where it's really easy. I didn't even offer him anything, and he was ready to just give me one of these towers to be my private security, and I just don't think that's okay.
Well, no, I don't know what the city, are they following the policy? I don't even know, but I don't even know if we even owned one. I'll be honest with you, when I was with the city, I don't believe we did. And, you know, so, I mean, in my opinion, it should be used in areas where there's crime and there's activity. You know, I'm not there to tell you, oh, well, this is what's happening or not. What I can tell you is that they should be used, you know, for areas where there's criminal activity. Absolutely.
I totally agree with you.
And there should be some kind of paper trail or something filled out to where you got to fill out the information, what crime activity, what is going on to justify, you know, especially if it's a grant, for sure. For sure.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I just think there should be a more strict oversight.
Process in place. I mean, you know, just like I said, here, fill this out, what criminal activity, let's investigate it. I don't know, in my opinion, and then see if it's something that justifies it, right?
But I'm wondering, is there a part of the funds that are being allocated to all these different entities and city government that's fraud? Is there fraud and abuse? I'm not saying that you're aware of it, but is it something that happens in the city? And specifically, I want to talk about the police department because that's our biggest piece of the pie when it comes to our city budget. And specifically with all the issues our department's had recently, do you think it's a good idea to be bolstering them right now and like increasing their budget when the public might not have as favorable perception of them right now, especially with the former chief?
Well, I personally believe public safety is important for all our citizens, right? And I believe that you should increase funding each year for our public safety, and that includes our fire department and our police department. Now, what I would say about your question about the fraud and all that, I would hope that is not happening, right? And I can tell you and I can assure you that before I left office, we hired an internal auditor. Okay, that internal auditor is there specifically to watch our books, right? To make sure that everything is done according to our policies and our procedures and the law. Procurement laws, just the law, accounting, the accounting laws that we have, that everything is done accordingly, right? And so I advocated for that. It took a long time to get an auditor approved and hired. And it wasn't until our current city manager came in that brought in that internal auditor. But that right there will help curtail a lot of that distrust, if there's distrust out there in the community, because that internal auditor is there to look at those issues, to look at those potential complaints or fraud or anything of that nature. And also to manage, or not manage, but what's the word I'm looking for? For the internal auditor also looks at the council to make sure that we're approving things that need to be approved, and that we're approving them based on our ordinances and our policies. So that has a checks and balances for us too. It's not just administration, it's for the council as well. So that internal auditor is very, very important, in my opinion, to bring back that integrity, the ethics back to our city. So the people, the citizens of Edinburg can feel a trust in their elected officials and in their city government.
Myself, I've got a background, I've got a degree in accounting. One of the classes we took was auditing. Part of auditing, what should be able to happen if we have an auditor, which I'm really surprised we didn't, I really didn't know that, is if there's a problem, and Mr. Soto could probably attest, there's a problem in some kind of accounts that we're starting to see, or some type of internal misdealings or something like that. That's the type of person Mr. Dago is. Because he's the finance director and directly in the finance side, doesn't mean he's the auditor on the auditor side. That's actually two separate hats. And the fact now that we get a audit from an outside auditor, that's like Mr. Enriquez says, we're going to take a small sample, we're going to come out and audit your whole company or your city for us. Now, when I was chief too, I think we got sampled once out of the 3 years that we were there. I don't think you were here yet. I think we got sampled once, and there was just a few phone calls really on some processes, not really about how we were spending money or where our money was going. That's why when I asked Mr. Hinojosa a little while ago about will he be able to do processes, is it part of their job going to be looking at process? In other words, the city, we have a guide on how we're supposed to spend the money, how we're supposed to go out for bids or not bids and all that. And that's the question is are we following that? And that's where, if he's noticing there's a discrepancy, or does the auditor themselves wants to find something out, that's where we go back and we get an auditor. It surprises a city of this size with our budget that we have. We don't have one.
You know, this has been a position that I've been advocating for since day one. I think it's important for our city our size, for the amount of money that we have in our enterprise funds. You know, we do collect a lot of revenue from these enterprise funds, and it's important that the taxpayer know exactly that their money is spent wisely, that their money is being utilized for the things that need to be incorporated into our city. You know, this to me is a common sense approach to fiscal responsibility, and it really behooves us as a council to really move in that right direction to establish a certain procedural component here within our city, within our departments, and I think if we were to do that, it would eliminate a lot of things that could be, you know, seen as you know, just inappropriate transactions or what have you. So I really feel that this is something that we definitely need to do for the future of our city, and I would implore my fellow colleagues here to ask Mr. Hinojosa to really interview or go out for applications and interview some possible candidates. The position has already been created.
Yes, it's already in the comp plan. Right? Our comp plan has it as a lower salary range, so we would have to adjust that. But we're getting quickly to about mid-year in our budget process. So we're going to be making some changes as far as our budget in mid-year. So that's something that we can bring back to you if you want me to proceed as far as finding the funding to do this.
And obviously, back in the 80s, it didn't pay up to 95,000, correct?
No, definitely not. The salary range was a lot lower.
When you say that it's on the comp plan, it was added in there?
Yeah.
On this last budget cycle?
I think it was the last budget or the year before.
It was the year before.
Yeah, I think it was the year before that was added to the comp.
On this item, it says just a presentation. It doesn't say anything about action, Counselor. Is that correct? So we can't make any motions to proceed on funding this?
Well, no, that wouldn't be for the council to do in any regard. It's an employment decision. My understanding is this is just simply an update by the city manager on a position that he wanted to discuss with the council.
Well, I think we're long overdue for this position. I think it's important so we can show the public that we're being fiscally responsible. I think it's a great position to have. It's again, it's something long overdue in my opinion. So I would definitely suggest that we move forward with it. But again, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
The way I see it is an external auditor takes a sample of all the transactions, okay? So it's a very small sample of all the thousands of transactions that the city conducts in a fiscal year. An internal auditor can look at
as many transactions in any department to make sure that that the procedures that we use to collect money and the procedures that we have for the least amount of people to handle cash, that they're responsible and to where you can eliminate any, you know, discrepancies at all. So the internal auditor plays a vital role in the procedures of how to collect money, how that money is to be used. You know, I just feel with all our enterprise funds, I mean, we're such a big city now that has a lot of revenue coming in, and I mean, I just think that it's important for us to have this internal auditor.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that I disagree with this. I think it's a great idea. I'm just a little hesitant on allocating that money, that $95,000. We've already done the budget. I just think we're already pinching pennies, and we have a lot of projects that we need to work on. I don't mind looking at this in the future and funding it, but I just think it's something that we need to be real cautious about it. I'm a little frugal, and I don't want to just throw that money away. And I'm not saying that it's going to be thrown away. It's obviously going to go to a full-time position, but I just want to make sure that we really look at this before we commit to it.
So it's not like we haven't created positions and funded positions for things that don't affect the citizens directly. I think this affects the citizens directly because it handles their tax dollars. So that's the biggest difference. Public affairs liaison and a mayor council liaison really doesn't impact the lives of the everyday citizen like a internal auditor would. So I beg to differ on the point where, you know, it shouldn't be funded or we should be frugal with our money. I think this would be a position that is most important for our city.
And I took a lot of heat for those positions that I created. They were $60,000 each. So I'm just saying, you're basically saying, oh, if I made the suggestion, then it's okay to make the suggestion too. And I'm just telling you, we're doing this in the middle of the budget. We're going to have to find the money. Something's going to get cut. It's not like it just comes from the sky. So I'm just telling the council to be cautious. So I'm just telling the council to be very cautious. You know, we want to be able to learn from our mistakes and to be able to create a position that's almost $100,000 that's not funded. It's very hard. We're going to have a lot of people coming to us for pay raises. They're going to want different things for their department. They're going to want equipment. They're going to want different things. And I'm just telling you, it's, you know, we can agree to disagree, but I'm against I'm funding this position right now. All I'm saying is you guys ran a campaign saying that we're throwing money away. You guys are saying it's okay when you guys do it. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying be cautious.
This is not throwing money away. This is actually...
It is throwing money away.
This is actually making sure that the money
is
being
throwing money away.
Physically responsible. That's what this position is.
The position is not it doesn't exist. You guys are wanting to fund it.
What are you so afraid of someone coming in and looking at the procedures and where the money is going and how it's been collected? There's been positions that have been created for reasons that only that person knows why they were created, and I think that this is a position that is a no-brainer. I mean, anybody who argues hiring an internal auditor for a city our size and for the amount of money we collect, then, you know, I hate to say it, but I think you need to reassess and reevaluate what we're doing here.
Richard, you said you were asked to put this on the agenda. Who asked you to put it on the agenda?
The mayor pro tem.
Which is me.
Okay, there's a big difference. When that position was created by our former city manager, Juan Guerra, I didn't ask him to create a position.
I did.
He's the one that,
No, sir.
he's the one,
No,
wait
sir.
a minute. He is the one that created that position because that's his job as a manager. I didn't ask him, hey, put it on the agenda so we can create a position. There's a big difference here. You're asking this position to be created.
It's already
the
created.
former manager asked that it be created, and you're asking that it be funded for close to $100,000. I'm against it. It's that simple.
There's numerous recordings, Mayor. You can go back as far back as you want,
and that's
and you can say
fine. That's
whatever
fine.
you feel like you need to say.
It's okay.
The bottom line is, I've been advocating for an internal auditor since I arrived
And that's
here.
okay that you're advocating for it. You're one person. You want to
Exactly.
create a $100,000
Exactly.
position?
On one
I don't
person.
see it. It's not like we're afraid of an audit. It's, of course we're required to have an audit. Don't try to sell this to create a $100,000 position out of thin air that's not funded to make it seem like we're hiding something or we don't want to get audited. We get audited every year, and it's the manager's responsibility, who's in charge of the city, working hand in hand with the directors, and they know what they're spending money on. They're big boys and girls, and I trust the work that they do.
When I was city manager, we never increased our tax rate. In fact, I think when it was increased this last, 3 years ago or something, by this current administration, I don't think the taxes have been raised for over 25 years, the tax rate. So I remember, and the only reason I know that is because I remember when I became city manager, that was always a, something that was back in my mind, like, first of all, the increase in taxes is like a no-go. That's not even something to consider, because consistently, I believe it was since 1993. Of course, I became city manager in 2009. Our taxes have not been raised. They were 63.5 cents, the tax rate, since then. So I remember, I'm not going to be the city manager that's going to come in here and increase the tax, or at least recommend.
And so we had that planned. And we told the public this is what we were going to do. And the public said, okay, you know what? We agree, we pass it. But then, when the bonds were passed and we sold the bonds and we were getting ready to hire engineers, the current council, or I shouldn't say the current council, the past council and the three that I went in with, or the two that I went in with, decided that they were going to hire a project management firm to handle the entire $30 million. Wasn't going to do any design. All that person was going to do was get a paper from the engineers of record, and then pass it over to the city. So basically, that person was just going to be a paper pusher. Wasn't going to have any input on the design or anything like that, right? So in my opinion, that was a waste of tax dollars. Well, right. Well, when that person was hired, to justify their fee, I guess, they decided that, you know what, we're going to change what we told the voters we were going to do. We told the voters we were going to do detention, but now we're going to do laterals. We're going to lay pipe, and we're going to connect to the drainage district canal. Well, that wasn't what we told the voters we were going to do. Again, this is transparency, right? And accountability. So when that was brought to us, I raised the question of, hey, did we ask the bond council that if this was okay for us to do, for us to change the parameters of the bond? Well, when they finally said, no, we haven't asked, my question was, well, I think we should ask, don't you? And so they did, and it came back to us that we had violated the terms of the bond. So we could have lost those $30 million. The bondholders could have revoked that money and said, I want my money back. So that is why when we passed it in 2018, we're barely finishing up the designs and going out for bid. So 3 years later, we're starting to implement that drainage. And you know this, in the 3 years from 2018 to 2021, we've had many, many flood events here in the city of Edinburg. A lot of flooding has happened. So if we would have done it correctly the first time back in 2018, we could have alleviated a lot of those flooding issues. A lot of those homes that were flooded, that could have been curtailed. And I blame that. I blame that on our current council, or I shouldn't say a current council. I blame that on the previous council and the two that went in with me, because this could have been avoided. But again, it was all politics. It was all about, giving contracts to people that didn't need to be giving contracts to. And so again, I preach accountability, I preach transparency, and I was trying to give that to the public. and thank God that that they're finally on the right track.
We have G, consider terminating the agreement with SDI Engineering LLC for the project management services for the 2018 bond election projects. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
A question.
Sir.
What would be the reason for the termination?
I don't know. I didn't put it on the agenda. Did you put it on, Richard?
I was asked to be put on.
Oh, yeah, I put it on.
You put it on?
Yes.
You want to share that with
Yeah,
Mr.
definitely. Oh, definitely. So basically, this project was an approval that we gave our ex-city manager and the mayor the opportunity to negotiate the contract. And during the negotiations, it was brought that he received 1.5%, and then he received a $250,000, I guess it would be savings if he saved any money for the city. Okay, so when that was found out, I brought it back for discussion because that wasn't what was discussed at the meeting that we approved the services. And during that time that we were discussing, there was, I guess the council at that time decided that I shouldn't ask any questions. So there was no discussion. We weren't able to bring it up for discussion. And so it left it as is. Then we moved forward and they came for a recommendation to approve engineers for the bond projects, okay? And they decided to, I guess, approve the engineers from a pool of engineers that we have, that the city has for on-call services. And so one of the things that at that time, I stressed was that the agreement that was approved and negotiated by the city manager and the mayor, and what the scope of work entailed was for SDI to provide let me go to his scope so I can get the wording correct.
And just for the record, Mr. Enriquez, I did not negotiate the contract because you keep putting me in the story, but I believe it was the city manager at the time and the city attorney.
Okay.
And from what I remember, you didn't have an issue with us having a project manager.
No, I didn't.
You had an issue.
I had an issue with the fees.
You had an issue with there being an incentive if there was any savings on the project, but you agreed, Mr. Enriquez, wait a minute. You agreed that we should have a project manager on the project to oversee the monies. We all agreed on that.
I agree.
I believe what you didn't agree with was you basically wanted a base rate. In other words, you wanted him to charge X amount of fee. You had an issue with any incentives being put into it.
No, that wasn't even, the incentive wasn't even discussed. What was discussed was the percentage. You can go back to the video. The discussion was the percentage. He was charging originally 2%, and that was way too much for horizontal work. Okay, way too much. There was no discussion at the time about any kind of savings, incentive, or whatever you want to call it. And that was left up to the city manager, and I thought it was said you.
I never sat down at the table with, no.
That you would negotiate with the final negotiations with SDI. So it never came back to be ratified of what was negotiated. What were the final terms of the negotiation, correct? So when I found out what those terms were, because I asked the city manager, I brought it back so we could discuss it, and you all didn't want to discuss it. We didn't have a vote.
Here we are, we're here to discuss
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, I'm discussing it. So at that time, when they came over to approve the engineers, and you all approved from a list of on-call engineers, for the 4 drainage projects.
Yes, sir.
Right? I asked if we were going to get a credit for the work that SDI was not going to perform under his scope of services. And he was up at the podium, he was about to answer, and you cut it off and asked for a vote. So there was no discussion.
Do you want to ask Mr. Gonzalez right now? I'm saying, well, we can have the discussion.
Oh, so now you want to have a discussion?
No. What I'm saying is, no, Mr. Enriquez.
Okay, go ahead.
What I'm saying is, we want to do this openly. That's what we're here doing.
Right.
Now you keep going back to the last time we're here at this time. You put it on the agenda for termination. You're saying you didn't have a problem with his services. You had a problem with the scope of the services, and you wanted to know, basically, you want to amend his contract. Is that correct? You don't like the numbers that are in the contract.
So you asked who brought it up. Councilman Garcia asked for background. That's why I went back and gave him the background.
Giving him background.
So what is?
Whatever you want to do whatever you want to do.
I made a motion.
Okay.
There was a second.
Okay.
And what I'm saying is the scope that SDI said they were going to perform, they did not perform. Simple as that. They did not perform what was identified in their scope of services. So why does the city not receive a credit for it? They should receive a credit. If you don't perform a service, you should provide the credit. Don't you agree?
Well, I haven't looked at the scope of this, and I haven't gone out and seen the work that's been done. So
it's real easy because we had this discussion, and you cut me off. If you didn't cut me off, then we wouldn't. If you didn't cut me off, you would have heard the answer. But the question was asked, Mayor. The question was asked to Mr. Posadas. The question was asked.
Okay, calm down. Okay, but what I'm saying is, you don't want to look at amending the contract. You just want to terminate the contract.
I don't think we need it for the amount of money that we're spending, and for this whole contract here is just unbelievable to me. You have a $30 million bond issue that we passed, right? $30 million.
That's correct.
Exactly $30 million. Okay. But his fees based on $30,191,547. How's that? How does that happen? It's a $30 million bond, but his fees calculated using $30,191,547.05.
Mr. Posadas, you want to approach the podium so you can answer these questions?
Sorry about the long walk. Isaiah Posadas with SDI Engineering. So the first question is where we got the number. The bond was at $30,191,000. That was the final number on the, that was approved.
But that included fees. Fees for bond counsel, fees for attorneys, fees for all those fees. So why should you get a percentage of that?
That was a negotiation.
A negotiation?
That was a negotiation.
For something that you're not even, that 191 was nothing to do with actual construction. That had to do with services to pass the bond, again, to get the bond, to get the money.
Again, those were the negotiations with the city manager at the time.
But you know this as a professional.
Well, we are managing every aspect of the project, including.
So you sold the bonds?
No, that was a negotiation with the city manager, is that the 1.5% be based on the total amount. Now, just for your information.
No, answer my question. Did you help sell the bonds?
Yes. Well, I go back. We advertised the bonds. We prepared the election. We helped with that presentation, all of that, if that's what you mean.
Did you not get
to the
paid,
public?
Did you not get paid
Yes, sir.
money before that?
Yeah, $14,950.
Okay, so that's what you did for the $14,000.
Well, you asked if I helped sell it.
That $14,000 paid for that service.
Well, yes, but you asked if we sold. Do you mean sell to the public or sell
Well,
bonds.
Mr. Posadas, that 30,197,000, that 197 is the fees that we pay the bond counsel and the underwriters to go sell the bonds. Is that not correct, Mr. Hinojosa? That's correct. So why should you get a percentage off of that 197,000?
It may have been a misunderstanding.
Okay, so let me ask some more questions. I'm glad you're up here. So during that meeting, you remember that meeting, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I asked you about the procurement of the engineers, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you acknowledged that we didn't go out for a procurement. We didn't advertise for engineers.
We didn't do an RFQ process. We used the city's RFQ process
Which
that they had
means-
already performed.
Which
Correct.
means you just provide a list and we chose from that list.
Actually, we evaluated with the city staff prior to bringing the list. We evaluated who might be the most responsive, who might be the most qualified. We did review that with the city staff.
Okay, so in your procurement, you said you have your selection and contracting for engineering professional services. You have prepare requests for qualifications, RFQs. That wasn't done.
Correct. We evaluated. I mean, I'm going to tell you,
Okay,
there's a lot of detail we do not put into our, we do a lot more than just what's written in the contract. So if you tell me, hey, you didn't exactly.
The contract is the one that we go by, sir. So let me go through the other list. We have here organized selection committees. Was there committees?
It was a staff and ourselves, yes.
But what was?
The staff and
Did
ourselves.
you organize those committees?
We participated in that selection, yes. I mean, we feel like we go above and beyond anyway, but we don't specifically go and.
Okay. Assist in developing agreement contract with legal counsel. Did you get with our legal counsel and discuss the contracts?
We reviewed the legal document that was presented back to the city engineer that went to the attorney.
So did you develop it?
No, we didn't develop. We reviewed it with them. The city already has its own standardized forms. We just made sure that the scope that was going to be part of the agreement, the attachments, the exhibits, all the scope, that was all inclusive, that it met the intent of the bonds. That's what we did. That's what we participated in the contract. That is part of the contract, yes.
Well, I'm interpreting those lines to mean something different. So prepare recommendations, presentations to the city council. Did you do that?
Yes, sir.
I don't remember that.
We have done a lot.
I just remember them making the motion. I don't remember any recommendations or presentations to the city council.
We were prepared to make any presentations and answer questions like we're doing tonight.
Okay, so you have here pre-project planning 10%, $45,288. So out of that $45,280, you have to admit that not all of it was done.
I have to admit that we have done more than just your typical contract.
Okay. Okay, Mr.
5.6%. That's what we did.
Let's get something straight, okay?
Yes, sir.
You were hired, and by the way, you were just hired before we even went out for a bond. You were hired not through the council, but through the city manager to do a presentation to review, do the assessment of our drainage. And in that assessment, you came out with a presentation that you made to the public saying that this is what we're going to do. We're going to detain the water here in certain areas, certain quadrants of the city. Is that correct?
I'm going to disagree with us making the assessment. We didn't do any of the assessment at all. We did no assessment. We took the information that the city provided us, their assessment, reviewed it, put it on presentation. We only had 2 weeks.
So then what was the money for then? What were you using the money for?
To prepare the presentations, to understand the
presentations. So just to do a slideshow?
To go do the slideshow, to present to the public. We went to 5 or 6 public meetings. Yeah, $14,000. We spent time preparing within a weekend to get ready for public meetings. I think we had a total of 6.
So I was there at one of the public meetings.
You were there, I think, at 2 of them or something.
Yeah, I was there. And it didn't last but maybe an hour. Your presentation was less than that. So you're telling me that you were involved from the beginning, then you were hired as a project management or project manager, and you've never done this type of project management before, correct?
I would differ. Yes, we've done this type of project management before. Yes.
Okay, where?
Every project that we've done has project management.
No, specifically overseeing a bond program.
Not this. No, not this.
Okay, so you haven't done this type of program management.
Actually, I have. In the city of McAllen PUB, I did their 2000. I forget what year. $60 million bond. I oversaw their $60 million utility bond projects.
Okay.
Project management.
In your RFQ, you don't say that.
Well, because that was a long time ago. I only like to go back 4 or 5 years. I mean.
Okay, so, but you can stand there and tell me that you haven't done this type of program management for a $30 million bond.
I've done it for $60 million.
Okay, so my question is to you is, why didn't the city council or the city manager decide that, hey, you know what? Let's go out for RFQs for project management services so we can see what the going rate is, because you mentioned at one of the meetings that, you know, the going rate was 4% or something to that effect. And so what I don't understand is how you came into the picture all of a sudden, and that there was no need for the city to go out for RFQs, that you were the most qualified company to do a $30 million bond program. I want to know, how did that happen? How did that all transpire?
I was asked to come and prepare a proposal.
And who asked you?
By the city manager.
And
then we brought it to council, and council voted.
Did the city manager say who told him to do it, or how this was coming about?
We prepared a proposal.
And remember, this is all being recorded.
I understand. We were requested by the city manager to prepare a proposal. We prepared a proposal that was presented to city council.
So continue.
Well, I thought I answered. The city manager at the time requested that we provide a proposal to be presented to city council. And then we came, met, council reviewed our proposal and approved it.
Okay. So my whole issue is that the fee, the structure, the $250,000 savings, you know, in my opinion, the work that wasn't performed and getting paid for, the amount, the $30,191,547, when the $191,547 shouldn't have been included because those are bond fees. You know, this whole program manager thing just didn't sit well with me, and the way it was conducted and structured. And I don't feel that with what's going on with the projects, that the project manager is necessary. The engineers that I've talked to say that they're doing the majority of the work. I haven't even seen any reports from SDI regarding any of the meetings that have been conducted, any of the research that has been done. I mean, there hasn't been any communication, and we're the ones that have to answer to the public.
Correct.
But yet we don't know what's happening. So I find that a little curious, and I just don't agree with paying $700,000 or could be $700,000. You have a $452,000 base fee plus $250,000 if he saves, which attributes to 25%. So I just feel that that money could be better utilized for the actual work, for the drainage work and the street work, because we still don't know how much the streets are going to cost that we want to widen, that was part of this bond program. So, you know, I just feel that that money, that $500,000 could be used in the actual construction of the projects.
Mr. Rodriguez, I'm going to make a comment. You had no issue with Mr. Posadas being selected when we went. You had an issue with the fee. You paid a city manager and
And I think that's what I'm
negotiated
saying.
a city manager $250,000 to go away to do no work. If you're having an issue with the fees, let's talk about the fees. If you're having an issue with his work, let's talk about his work. So where are we going with this?
I think I just did talk about his work. I mean, if
So you don't-
somebody,
you don't
if
like
somebody
the
is
work.
trying to get paid for something that's not being done and getting paid for an amount that they shouldn't be getting paid for, is that the type of people we want working for our city?
I don't know if you were on the council at the time, Johnny, but when we did that $30 million bond for the drainage, were you there?
No, I wasn't there yet.
Oh, okay.
That was
And
before us. That was in 2018, I think.
okay, and so like originally they had planned for like detention ponds,
Correct.
and then something happened, right? Like they're
Well, I honestly think that's what happened, is that they pulled the horse before the carriage, or the carriage before the horse.
okay, meaning
In other words, what they looked at was, okay, we passed the bond. We need to do these 4 retainer ponds, for that bond, but they had never purchased the land.
okay,
They were just pre-anticipating where they wanted to build them. Basically, they wanted to do one in each quad of the city.
okay.
But they hadn't purchased the land at that time.
So we planned on like we got the like I guess the specs and the architectural plans for.
They did all the legwork, and that's what that SDI did, where they did the legwork as far as what it would cost.
Yeah, and did they actually draw out plans and prints and stuff?
Yeah, and so Posadas was the overseer of the project.
I see.
The problem became, Josh, that they were talking about, what Gilbert was talking about, that SDI had stolen money.
Oh, really?
And that they had not finished the project. The problem is, it's not that he stole money. They just, I feel that he might have just been overpaid.
Oh, okay. Like,
In other words, like say for example, you're a journalist, right?
yes, sir.
And we hire you for a part of our media.
Yes, sir.
And because I like you and I know you, I'll be like, you know what, Josh? I'm gonna pay you a $60,000 salary.
Okay.
And you're not gonna deny. You're gonna be like, hey, yeah, I'll take the $60,000. But yet you look at the history of that media position, and they've always only gotten paid, let's say, $30,000.
Yes, sir.
You know what I
So,
mean? So it's not illegal what you're doing. They just, gave you a little extra than what the normal would be.
yeah. No. I get what you're saying there. So
He didn't steal. It's not right.
yeah. So was he awarded the whole 30 million or?
There was portions. It was supposed to be like if he completed it by a certain day, he would get like the extra bonus, and he was supposed to oversee the projects. The problem that I saw later, when I first got elected, I was supposed to, look at that contract and be one of the ones to terminate him. But like I told him, I said, well, I need to see it first before we make any calls.
Yeah.
And one thing that we learned was that he not only was our project engineer, but he was also part of the irrigation district.
Oh, so he just had so much on his plate, huh?
Correct. And so they had told us that they were going to redo the drainage deals.
Okay.
And then over there, he told them that what they could do was make it wider and go deeper.
Okay.
But you can't really go deeper. Well, the thing about it becomes unsafety for the cars that go along it. If you have an accident on the side of the road and they go into the drainage ditches, well, you're not going to be able to get them out in a fast enough time because you don't have machinery that can go that far down.
I see. I see. Okay. So he was the SDI was thinking like instead of the detention ponds like ditches or
Yeah, let's make the ditches wider and deeper. But the thing is that the ditches in downtown belong to the irrigation district. They don't belong to the city.
I see. So whose responsibility was it to purchase that land? Like
The city, but they should have purchased it before. It's like, for example, Josh, if you want to expand the street, let's say, for example, veterans.
yeah,
Right now is a time where you go and you buy the right of ways.
exactly.
So that when the time comes that you decide, oh, you know what, we're gonna expand veterans. Well, we already own the right of way, so we got no problem, and let's go right through.
Yeah.
As opposed to, hey, you know what, we want to expand the veterans, and we figure it's gonna cost us, let's say, $10 million. Well, yeah, but have you even talked to the homeowners that are willing to sell it? Because if you get one or two owners that say, oh, we're not gonna sell, now you have a road that's gonna expand, but it's gonna be like a curve because not everybody's sold to you.
Yeah. So I guess SDI Engineering. I mean, did they do their due diligence? I'm sure they have to go mark new right away. To
I'm not sure how far they went through because, like I said, that project took longer than what they were supposed to. And when we got here in 2019, it was like we're part of the tail end of it.
yeah, where were they at that point when you got there?
I'm not sure because they kept on giving different percentage. Somewhere that they were at 30% complete, and then others that they were more at 60%. You know, so it was kind of different percentages.
Dang. And ultimately, what happened? Like,
Well, we let them go.
okay.
And that's why a lot of projects have stopped and now they're starting again. But I mean, obviously he does good work because he does work for the precinct 4 also. He's the one that did the park for him in San Manuel.
Yeah. 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 I mean, shoot.
And he used to be an engineer for the school district too. So I mean, obviously he has some good work.
Yeah, and that's actually the engineering firm that I was referring to with in that document with Molina. He's the one that did Molina's subdivision.
Yeah, and the thing is that a lot of people work together. You know,
Yeah, that's what.
With a lot of these projects. And the thing is, and like I tell people jokingly, Josh, the richer will always get richer and the poor will remain poor.
Yeah, yeah. So what? My question is, like, do you think it makes sense, like, to just pay like city council and like mayors so that they can put like their full time into like making legislation and like that being their job? Like,
Well, I don't think, number one, that we would have enough money in the budget for something like that.
yeah,
Because I think the most that they would be able to pay us is maybe like a little stipend for attending the meetings, you know, like for gas or something.
yeah. But like, they do that in some cities, and especially because we are growing. Like,
Yeah, but we don't.
yeah. No, I'm just like thinking out loud here.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, I thought about it myself because I know some cities do, but I don't know what cities actually do and how they figured that payout. Because the thing is, like, if you look at all of our events that we've had, you know, it's unfortunate, but it's always the mayor and I that attend.
Yeah.
You know, George doesn't go and David doesn't go and Gilbert didn't go either when he served. So how would you pay them as opposed to us that we do show up? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. I know there. I mean, there'd have to be a lot of thought that would go into it, and like, but the only reason why is just because, like, you're a unique case. Like you can still do your job, and there's no way that it interferes with your public service.
And
But
also because since I'm a main manager for my location, kind of like a co-owner.
yeah,
So I have the right that I don't have to ask a supervisor or something, hey, can I leave the office early because I got an event with the city or anything like that. And that was really one of my platforms when I was running against the other three candidates, that I was really the only one that was really accessible to serve the community.
yeah, and that you see, like, that's great for you. But what about like someone else like that, just like a regular Joe? I mean,
That's a choice that they make.
huh?
That's a choice that they make.
they may have. And that can encompass if you have a business relationship of some sort with a elected official and or an employee of that government entity. So every time that a government entity solicits for an RFQ or RFP, that form is required to be submitted. And so it's up to that individual, that vendor, to submit that conflict of interest form stating if they have any business relationship with a elected official or employee of that entity. And so once that is filled out, if it's filled out incorrectly or it's omitted from the submission, there is consequences.
To think you would have all of these people up in arms, right? But yet when we work on drainage, the public doesn't come out and support these type of events.
Because any amount of rain in the Rio Grande Valley, and that's why I advocate to the mayor and the city council, nothing will ever fix drainage in the Rio Grande Valley.
The facts are the facts. Why are these people not under investigation? This is the truth. This is the information you aren't being told.